but they can't see us. What's going on, Zach? Hold on, I can't see anything. We can't even see anything. I can't see anything. Oh, there we go. We're good now. Yeah. You see me loud and clear. All right. What's up, peeps? What's up? We're gonna do some shout outs before we get started. Oh man. It's a No, we're good. Fee's gonna do my introduction, I guess. That's cool. Whatever. That's fine. She gonna be late to the party and try to take over the party. That's cool. Whatever. What's up? What's up? Yeah, she does. She does. I've seen it.
I don't
I've
beat
actually
you.
seen it when people were around. You give her enough
I beat
wine,
I beat my brother though.
So I
She does
keep
beat
my
her
ass
brother.
in line.
and her brother just tasted like a little bitch.
How many people you got trickling in over there on that used tubes?
We got 42 so far.
UD tubes. How many we got on the convo couch, Johnny?
They said you can't hear. They said they're having trouble hearing Fee.
Try it now, Fee. Test
Can
that.
you can hear me? Great. Awesome.
Man, I can hear you, but I don't know if they can.
How about the audience?
I'm sure they can hear you. Second. Good. That means she didn't get to cut in on my show.
Jesus
Still the
Christmas.
limelight.
Oh, these egos, man. I'm telling you, the progressives and their
Pretty
egos.
soon we're gonna have a bunch of Anna Kasparians in here.
Hey, I take that personally, okay? Because that's kind of an
Come
insult.
on! What's his name? Is that what he says?
What?
What does Cenk Uyghur
Oh,
always
he
say?
says, of course.
Of course! Hey, Cenk, you want a 24-ounce ribeye? Of course!
Shut up.
wrong.
Oh, my God.
That's wrong.
Stop.
That's wrong.
Like Shrek.
But I would eat a 24-ounce ribeye.
You would. You do all the time, even though I tell you stop eating meat, you know?
Only once a week.
Oh yeah, Miss Pescatarian kill the ocean.
By the way, the ocean, like, we're going to run out of fish, like, in a few years. So, yeah,
quit
Niko,
eating it.
I might
Because
have
of you,
to.
you ain't helping.
Quit with your goddamn poke bowls every day. There ain't no more tuna left in the ocean.
Well, I know, right? She had me drive across town to get that damn poke bowl.
And you know what?
Yeah, right. Cross.
After hearing Niko talk about why he eats meat because he's in touch with his Native American side,
I said why I will not give up meat completely.
is what?
I will always eat meat at least once or twice a week, but I will not overindulge.
I think we've all cut down our consumption. Consumption.
Conception. Whoa.
We ain't accepting shit.
Consumption.
First off.
I mean, I used to have meat every day growing up. I used to have pork every
Contraception.
day in my family. I was Italian. My blood type is Genoa. Seriously, man. I would eat, like, that's what my mom would feed me.
Hey, Ron Placone.
Ronnie P.
Talk some sense into this guy.
Ronnie P.
Where Ron at? I missed that shit. Where Ron at?
Ron's
he-
eating pasta without me right now, so he's just
I
upsetting
missed it.
me.
Damn.
Are you on Facebook or the YouTubes?
Oh, I need to share to Reddit real quick. We got like 2 minutes before we get started, people. And then I will be
minutes.
introducing the show.
Dos
Fee.
minutos.
Fiorella.
What?
I ain't got to worry about pasta cutting me off. I got to worry about Fee. I'll be like, what's up, everybody? Hey, everybody.
Let me tell you something. I perfected the art of talking after Fee. You gotta wait for your spots.
This motherfucker cuts
You gotta
me
wait
off
for your spots. I
all
get
the
complimented all the
time.
time. They're like,
All
Pasta,
the
you do
time.
such a good job when Phoebe talking for 6 minutes, and then you just slip on in
Yeah,
there with the,
right.
with the slapstick comedy and the food.
That is so false. Everybody who's
Everybody-
watching knows.
The show, y'all. I watched the show.
She got a 3.5.
He might have told a little bit of a fib, but it ain't a big one. I'll tell you that. It ain't that far off.
Count the words. There's a 3-to-1 ratio of Fee to Pasta. But of course, she's a lot more intelligent with her. I'm much more cavemanish, but you know.
Company, glad to be a patron. I appreciate that. And Company. I like that. That's a good group name. Niko and Company. Appreciate that, Ray. You all got a special place.
You guys don't need to inflate his ego that much, guys. Come
Well,
on.
listen, somebody the other day on my video put, "Great job, Fee." So just on my own solo video, I'm like, "Thank you," I guess. Question.
Damn, V, you've sure changed since the last time I saw you.
Nice mustache, Fee.
Are y'all sharing on Facebook already?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
share
am.
on Facebook. All right. Give me 1 second, y'all. Since you love me, don't believe her.
We're gonna do I thought about a progressive karaoke fundraiser.
Oh hell no!
Down
I'm not
here with all the like.
No.
Oh, it'd be
I'll
hilarious.
stop it.
Pasta's
Yeah,
gonna
okay.
sing Quando Quando.
Quando, and No Woman, No Cry.
No woman, no cry.
It's
I'ma sing
about
Fable.
no woman, no cry, and when are you gonna be mine? So it's like a hopeless romantic who is asking when, and if you
Right.
don't get any, there's no woman, no cry. So it's my life. I'm singing. It's my life.
Whatever.
And that's the easiest way to get Fee out of the room is either sing Quando Quando by her door really loud, or put on orcas talking to each other.
The fuck.
That's my orca.
All right, y'all ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Born ready.
Let me just get out
All right,
the
good stuff.
Wi-Fi.
We'll just wait. We'll wait for Fee. Fee, you good? Let me know when you good. Let me know when you are.
I'm
Right.
good. I'm good.
Good. All right.
All right.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning in to the first ever progressive prime time with myself, Niko House, Fiorella, and Pasta of the Combo Couch. We had decided that you all get to see our faces individually a lot, but you don't get to see us together a lot. And I felt like that it shouldn't only be in LA when you get to see all of us at once. It would be dope if we could, give all of our analysis at the same time on some of the most pressing issues of the week. So every Thursday, it's supposed to be at 12 p.m. Pacific, but Fiorella runs on Fiorella time. Try to get here on time, but every Thursday we will be here, all three of us, and whatever special guests we may have on, and so you all can get all three of us at the same time. And it's, like I said, it's going to be called Progressive Prime Time. So for our very, very first topic, we actually got some breaking news. Fiorella had a conversation with one of the members at the Venezuelan embassy last night, and unfortunately there's been some pretty bad events developing there. Fee, can you elaborate on that for a second?
Yeah, so the U.S. forces broke in and illegally arrested both Kevin Zeese and Margaret Flowers, who were 2 out of the 4 remaining activists in the embassy protection collective that were there protecting the embassy from the Guaido forces that were trying to take over to simultaneously form a mini coup as an extension of the Guaido government in Venezuela, which is really interesting because the Guaido regime and the Guaido coup is failing miserably in Venezuela. So this is like their last grasp in that they've been trying to do. So we have a video of a couple videos, one of them showing kind of like the overall situation that's happened since. They've been there for over 30 days, and according to the Vienna Convention, this is a violation of international law. They are not allowed to go in and take these people out. They are not allowed to do any of the things they did. Like they took their water, they took their power, they took they completely prohibited them from attaining any kind of food.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
Jesse Jackson
and Ajamu Baraka went in there and they were fighting with the Guaido protesters to get some stacks of food up there, and they did manage to put 4 stacks. And I talked to Kevin Zeese via Messenger yesterday, and they were hoping that this is the start of a huge anti-war movement, because this is the kind of anti-war movement we need now, as we will talk later on in the show about our situation with Iran. And this is just disgusting how nobody's really talking about this in the media except maybe Telesur and Alex Rubinstein and a few of the other
Real News
reporters that are there, but everybody else has been completely silent on this whole thing. Yeah. Completely silent. So we have
Craig Wish. Oh, go ahead, Fee.
No, we just have a little video, but if you wanted to say something before.
No, actually, Johnny, if you could go ahead and play the video, that'd be dope.
We love you, embassy protectors! What do you have to say? This is Adrian Park. Not gay. This is an illegal order that they're following. We love you, embassy protectors!
That was today.
We love you, embassy protectors!
And is that you have another one? Oh, okay.
Well, anyways, that was pretty much the embassy protectors getting arrested again and hauled off and whatnot. And Fiorella kind of made an interesting point, and I just want to point this out. This is not being talked on MSNBC or CNN. Mm-hmm. The other day, I did a little experiment on Friday, and I put on Bill Maher, and I said, let me see how many times he mentions Venezuela. 0. But there's a constitutional crisis with Trump the way he I think he wiped his ass from behind instead of going through his legs. So I think that was the topic on Bill Maher, that Trump is getting crazy once again. And it's not even being covered. It's disgusting. So I'm sorry, Niko. Go ahead, baby.
Nah, you're fine. I was just it's crazy to me that we're literally seeing international law violated right in front of our faces. And for these people to, like, right now, the topic of discussion over the last 2 weeks has been, we have to impeach Trump. We have to impeach Trump. And you all know how I am and all the fucks I gave about the opinions of progressives about how I feel about other progressives. And I'm going to have to show you all the fucks I give again today, because international law is being violated right now, and we have progressive allies with platforms who have said zero, zilch, nada.
Nothing.
Right? Tulsi was asked about this, and I mean, she said she was going to do her research on it, but she was pretty clear from the jump. She said, I don't need to know what's going on. I know whenever international law is being violated, I know we have to speak out about it. And to be honest, Tulsi's so busy being right on all the issues, I'm sure we give her enough time, she'll go ahead and make a video about this. But I want to see, like, there's so many, we're in the middle of a presidential campaign right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like, and it's so sad, and I hate to say it like this, but it's like if they can't throw a black kid out there to look victimized so that somebody can look like the white savior or a white knight, or if they can't throw a black woman out there who got beat by cops, then nobody wants to talk about it, which is sad. And it's irritating to me as a black man to see that like whenever they talked about reparations, you see how quick that conversation died, right? Yeah. Because it was only used to pander, and they used race to weaponize they weaponize our race and our experiences to try and pander for votes. But like, as a black person, and Fee, you and your brother being Peruvian, like, people of color in Venezuela are the ones primarily being affected right now, which is why the silence on this issue, in my humble opinion, persists. So it's a little frustrating to see the amount of silence we've seen on this issue.
It's really hypocritical because it's in reference to reparations, it's always been a white person usually using this to see, oh, we need to help our brothers and sisters of color out. Bernie Sanders isn't talking about reparations, blah, blah, blah. And like, look at what Elizabeth Warren is doing on reparations, etc. Yeah. It's always been used to tokenize the minorities for votes. And the same thing with Venezuela is what we're not talking about is that this is a class and a racial revolution. Like you saw the pictures of the Guaido supporters versus the Maduro supporters, and the Maduro supporters aren't all just one shade. They're multiple shades. It's more of a cohesive, collective kind of support, whereas the Guaido supporters, a lot of the people that are like, well, my friend's Venezuelan and they hate Maduro. It's like, well, your friend has enough money, their family has enough money to be in the United States. And we've seen the elites Venezuelans, who are primarily more European looking, be the ones that are so anti-Maduro. It's because they have all the money. And we've seen the New York Times op-ed from that woman whose dad is literally working for the Guaido government, and the New York Times decided to completely ignore that fact and act like, oh yes, Venezuelans don't want Maduro, when the majority of his people support him. And Kevin Z's was there a few weeks ago, maybe like less than 2 months ago, and he was saying, look, like they support them. All that you're seeing in the media is manufactured. Guaido doesn't have very much support at all. The United States is failing with the coup. The Guaido supporters and the Guaido regime is failing with their coup. And this is just another example of how they're trying to manufacture the idea that they're actually winning when they absolutely aren't.
Yeah. And let me just add, by the way, so Fee has lived and is from South Florida. Paz is from South Florida, and I live in South Florida right now. The Venezuelan situation is very similar to the Cuban situation.
Absolutely.
You would be hard pressed to find a lot of black Cubans here, like you would be hard pressed to find a lot of black Venezuelans and mestizos here. And the reason that is because in Cuba specifically, Fidel Castro desegregated it. And if you go to Cuba right now, it's 70% black, 70%. Most of the people in Venezuela, which is why they keep maintaining the dominance in the parliament or the legislature, and people like Chavez and Maduro keep winning because they are more representative of the dominant base there, which is unfortunately lower middle class to poor and people of color. And then, of course, there are a few white Venezuelans who sympathize and are living through some of the similar economic experiences as the people of color there. But like, there's a reason for that. And we have a super chat from Giovanna Liviana. Not just international laws being violated, treaties the U.S. signs are part of the law of the land according to the Constitution. That is very, very true. Craig, you have any
Well, I just want to
words?
point out that we also have to pay attention to what's going on right now when it comes to the elections that are coming up with a lot of these establishment Democrats and what they're saying, how they're pandering, and how they're trying to frame this situation. You know, Fam made a video about Peter Buttigieg, and I made a video about where they stand on Venezuela. And when we talk about the poor people who are being represented, it's the same thing when it comes to the sanctions. The sanctions target the poor people of the country. So when you hear people like Pete Buttigieg going, we can target these sanctions to curb our behavior, like, no, it's the poor people. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we have right now is this government of Maduro. When I'm screaming Maduro's government is legit, it's about representative of the poor people, whatnot, the workers of the country. And 100%. I think a lot is telling with a lot of these people when it comes to these candidates on where they stand. And we always like to point out Tulsi on where she stands on the situation. And it's a lot telling of what's going to happen in this election coming forth. So, I mean, you know, I just wanted to point that out. So.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% true. And I will be looking out, as I'm sure you all will as well, for the candidates who have and will be speaking out about what happened at this embassy, because you're the president. Part of your job is to be commander in chief, and this is a violation of international law. And how you handle this situation right now is possibly emblematic of how you will handle situations like this in the future. We don't want another Obama situation where he made a bunch of promises to take care of Native Americans before he became the president, and then when Standing Rock happens, he dropped the ball all the way. Yeah. So with that being said, we can move on to the next topic. Looks like we're having heightened tensions with Iran. By the way, it seemed like it's only a one-way street, because Iran was like, we're not going to war with y'all. Y'all gonna keep flexing, and we're just gonna keep laughing at y'all. That's basically where they're at right now. But there have been some developments. Pasta, if you want to elaborate on that, that would be great.
Well, we were talking about the mainstream media too as well, how they're not covering stuff, but they always push their propaganda. And when I sent you the video, the text message, like, Pasta, that's some propaganda. I'm like, I know, we found this from back in the days. And I want people to pay close attention to, once again, the protest. Because we have, and I've been reading a lot of CIA books about how the CIA, the same thing they did. Johnny made a great video with the Venezuelan protesters, the way they're paid agitators. They're paid to start things. They're paid for chaos. And they did the same thing in Iran in 1953, which you have to understand the history. You talk a lot about the history about Iran, Niko, about Mossadegh. So we found a little propaganda piece from 1953. It's a short little film, but check it out, because what we did back then in 1953, we paid the agitators then. We did it just in Ukraine not too long ago, and it's the same textbook playbook for regime change on how we pay agitators to get in there, and we're seeing it at the Venezuelan embassy. But watch the media spin on it. It's pretty fun. Go ahead, Johnny. The Persian Revolution one.
Attention is focused once again on the Middle East, where events in Iran have taken a dramatic double twist. Forced to flee his palace in Tehran, the Shah and his queen arrive in Rome after an alleged attempt by the Imperial Guard to arrest Dr. Mossadegh and a refusal by the Shah to dissolve Parliament at Mossadegh's request. In Tehran, it looked as if Mossadegh would soon be named president, and on his orders, troops occupied the Shah's palaces and surrounded Parliament. And then the people themselves took a hand. 300 killed and hundreds wounded is a conservative estimate. The rioters freed those taken prisoner earlier and stormed the house of Mossadegh. Foreign Minister Fatimi gets through. First reports that he was torn to pieces have not been confirmed. Meanwhile, the mob flocked the streets demanding the return of the Shah. Mossadegh and his government were swept from power in favor of General Zahedi, the man appointed by the Shah in the first place. The thoughts of Britain instinctively turned to Abadan, that monument to British enterprise and engineering skill. Forced to abandon what we had created in the wilderness, is it too much to hope that we shall see once more the tankers of Britain at Abadan? Maybe sanity will yet prevail, and Iran and Britain go forward in harmony.
they go together in harmony, Niko, because here's the oligarchs. It was called the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, which eventually turned to BP, but that's what it was. The CIA got involved. It was 3 years old at the time, I believe, and they went to Eisenhower and they red baited him and said, "Hey, Mossadegh, who wants to nationalize the oil of his country, give the money back to his people, we can't have this." The CIA went in, and the propaganda the media played there. It's like the people flocked the streets for the Shah's return. No, the people just voted for Mossadegh. Mossadegh, if I'm saying his name wrong.
Mossadegh, yeah.
Yeah, so once again, you see the propaganda take place, and then the Shah comes into power now in 1953, and he rules till 1979, and an oppressive government, a friendly government, where the Anglo-Persian Oil Company gets to keep the oil, and it doesn't go to the people of Iran.
I think it's hilarious because if anything, what this video shows us is that the CIA and all the other corrupt intelligence agencies have literally not updated their playbook at all.
Same playbook.
It's lazy. It's lazy and embarrassing at this point. Oh, look at the protests. What did they tell us about Maduro? Look at the protests, and then it turns out that we were being lied to about who was actually protesting what, because the major protests were protesting against Guaido, right? Mm-hmm. Protesting for Maduro to the point where Maduro's people were standing outside of the palace protecting. Like, that's why the coup failed, right? Because if there was that many protesters, people, just in that situation alone, if there were that many protesters against Maduro, he wouldn't be there very long. Yeah. But because there were so many protesters in favor of Maduro, that's why the coups continue to fail. There is nobody in Iran as unhappy with their government as America would like to make you like to have you think. They're not a theocratic dictatorship. They actually have a democratic dictatorship, and yeah, they have people who are religious who are in charge, but they only can be there if they campaign to do so. Yeah. They have regular elections. They have some of the most fair elections in the world. And the only time that they have not had elections is when we were installing their government.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it needs to be understood that we're seeing another situation where oil is becoming the determining factor in where we choose to not promote, quote unquote, promote democracy. I think it's ridiculous. And like Z said, we really need to have the largest anti-war movement, and that needs to be the centerpiece, in my humble opinion, for any campaign. 'Cause I don't give a damn. Yeah, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't want Medicare for all so bad that I just say screw it. If Yemen keeps continuing to get bombed, it is what it is. If we have to invade Iran for me to have Medicare for all, it is what it is. And what I mean by that is there's a reason they were okay with FDR in power, and they just kind of capitulated. Okay, whatever, we'll give him what he wants domestically. But they kept him in power and refused to allow Henry Wallace to take over because FDR was stupid when it came to foreign policy because he was a spoiled rich kid. He never left the country probably unless it was to go on, do what rich people do. Yeah. Wallace, on the other hand, was one of the few who is speaking out against colonialism, talking about desegregating around the world, told the truth about what was happening in South Africa, and they wouldn't allow him to take over and instead replaced him with that moron Truman, which is the only reason the Cold War was created and the only reason that the bombs were dropped on Japan. Yep. Because they always play that playbook. And like as much as I love Bernie, I don't want him falling into that trap of trying to be FDR, because there's another side of the FDR presidency that people rarely like to associate with him, which is the entrance into World War II under not even doing what we're supposed to do. We refused to enter when we knew the Holocaust had started, but the only time that we decided to enter was when Pearl Harbor happened, but that was also because of what? Economics. Yep. It was a trade war. So with Japan. Yeah. So but yeah, Phoebe, you got anything to say about that?
I just think that whoever is president next has to be someone that has at least a desire to end interventionist wars, that is aware of the foreign policy, that has been actually paying attention, or at least started to pay attention. We can't afford a president that's only going to focus on domestic policy and literally let the rest of the world burn down and continue the status quo of the military-industrial complex, because that is going to essentially continue the cycle, which will eventually get back to us being screwed in here domestically too. So if you're going to be selfish and be an asshole and only care about your own people, it's still going to affect us in the long run. And, and that's what we're going to talk about later with this kind of green imperialism that some of these centrists are pushing.
And if I can, go ahead. If I can quote George Galloway, you can't separate foreign policy from domestic policy. It's impossible because 51 cents on every dollar goes to the war machine. And that's why they're electing these populists, because refugees are coming on in. And I really just want to also say that, when you were talking about these elected leaders, it sucks sometimes talking about Iran, because Jimmy Carter had a position to play when it came to protecting the Shah and trying to keep him in power. And that was Jimmy Carter.
The Carter Doctrine. He said, if anybody tries to go into the Middle East, we'll fuck you up. That's basically what the Carter Doctrine
said. And they also, Niko, they red-baited Eisenhower to remove Mossadegh. You know what I'm saying? So they red-baited him, and that's why I think he made that military-industrial complex farewell speech, because he felt guilty that he was red-baited in by the military-industrial complex and the oil companies.
I felt bad for Eisenhower because he was a moron, low key. Like, people love Eisenhower, but I won't say he was a moron. He figured it out by the end of it. JFK figured it out sooner, right? We saw how that ended. So I almost feel bad for people like Eisenhower. I feel bad for Jimmy Carter. And like I said, that's why it's so important when we're talking about the presidential election. If you think that's why, we have this conversation all the time when people say, well, Tulsi's only good on foreign policy. Yeah, you mean the one thing that every other presidential candidate is horrible on? Yeah. And also the one thing that is the shortcomings of people's understanding of foreign policy has led us into World War I, which led to the Holocaust, which led to World War II, which led to Vietnam War, which led to the list really does go on. We can't keep once again, the economy boomed under FDR, but there's always that part where people leave out that, oh, by the way, the United States corporations allowed for the Nazis to build themselves up while creating Nazi subsidiaries and building all their weaponry, building all their technology, building their machine guns, building their tanks, and destroying half of Europe. That part gets left out. That all happened under FDR's reign.
Oh yeah.
And we can't continue to talk about these presidents who were good on domestic policy while ignoring their shortcomings on foreign policy, because millions of lives are at stake. Just because we do a little, that's what happens, right? We get placated by domestic policy. Well, if my life is good, I'm good. But at the end of the day, it's true. At the end of the day, though, if the war starts in Europe, if the war starts in the Middle East, and our corporations are attached to it, which they 100% of the time always are, guess where you'll be going next, or guess where your child will be heading.
No shit.
And these are the facts.
Yeah.
So
and let's not forget that when you talk about World War II, Nazi regime was funded by American corporations, by the Bushes, oil, everything. So they were funded by American corporations. So let's not let that slip anybody's fucking head, because that's what's disgusting too. We don't care as long as there's a dollar sign.
And just really quick, I do want to give a brief to get some context to what I was saying when I said World War I led to the Holocaust. So for those of you who don't know, World War I was a complete and total manufactured war. Like I said, it's laughable when everybody thinks back to, if you went to grade school in the United States, they always say, well, how did World War I start? Well, some guy named Archduke Franz Ferdinand got assassinated. So the whole world went to war over this guy? Like, what was he? They made it seem like he was the heir to the German throne or some shit. Nope, he was just an Archduke from Austria. But that was a lie. They had been manufacturing consent against Germany because Cecil Rhodes, the guy who's mostly known for that's what the Rhodes Scholarship is named after. He's also that started the war in South Africa, which led to the apartheid in South Africa. That was what they actually were trying to create with World War I. Like, they wanted all of the world to be Anglo-dominated, British, English-speaking, colonies everywhere. That's what they were hoping to achieve. And so what happened was Germany was their biggest economic threat, and Germany had paired up with Russia they weren't doing anything. They were minding their own business. And we utterly obliterated Germany and blamed them for everything. And then after the war was over, we punished them for it. And so Rothschild was connected to this because him and Cecil Rhodes were working close together. And then they were working with J.P. Morgan over here, which is how all the subsidiaries ended up in Great Britain. And we were building a lot of their weapons. And that's also how we got Woodrow Wilson to drive us into World War I by lying about what happened with the Lusitania.
We just talked about it last night.
I did? Well, there you go.
Who sunk the Lusitania? We did so we can get into that fucking world. Same thing with the Gulf of Tonkin. We did so we can get into that fucking war. Sorry.
So what happened? Hitler was able to weaponize the reality that that war doesn't happen without Rothschild bankrolling it. And because Rothschild happened to be an Ashkenazi Jew, it was a easy target to center and galvanize everybody behind. Therefore, the Holocaust happens. So if we had a president who was privy to how foreign policy is actually run, of course, it would have been really hard if you were Woodson at the time, because literally there was no other example of this. But if we would have had a Tulsi for president, for example, right, or a Jamu for president, for example, there's no World War I. There's no World War II. There's no Holocaust. The domino effect of just understanding how one war was manufactured prevents the war industry from coming to fruition. Exactly. So that's how important it is for us to focus on making sure that we put somebody in office who is not going to pull any punches when it comes to their anti-war stance. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be, not just the president, right? Congress people and senators as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So, Fiorella was on Twitter, decided that she was tired of Elizabeth Warren's bullshit and everybody being convinced that Elizabeth Warren somehow progressive. People keep putting her name with Bernie and Tulsi and AOC and all that good stuff. And Elizabeth Warren has some interesting takes about climate change. It was really weird link was made. Can you go ahead and talk about that, Fee?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, Elizabeth Warren is trying to call the imperialism something good by saying that we need some sort of green imperialism. She said climate change is real. It's worsening by the day, and it's undermining our military readiness. More and more, accomplishing the mission depends on our ability to continue operations in the face of floods, droughts, wildfires, desertifications, and extreme cold. So, I don't know about you, Niko, but what I take from reading this is she's saying we need to keep our military strong in order to help climate change. And for me, that is the most ridiculous thing in the world, because war is the number one thing that destroys our climate. It doesn't only destroy our climate by the amount of this like shit that it puts out in the air, but it also destroys the farmland. It destroys populations. It destroys ecosystems that are interdependent on each other.
It releases a shitload of carbon into the air.
Oh yeah. So even if you have, nobody's going to care. The people that you're bombing aren't really going to care if you have like green recyclable missiles. It's ridiculous. That's literally what she's saying. She's trying to push this green imperialism.
Electric tanks, guys.
And Mike Gravel shot back. Mike Gravel shot back real nice. He said, damn, gotta love the new centrist consensus on climate crisis. Get hyped for green imperialism. Wow. And that was directly at Elizabeth Warren, because she's literally trying to get everybody to agree that, yes, let's push for green and the Green New Deal, but simultaneously let's kill everybody in the process, right? While we push for this. It's ridiculous. And you know why I'm pissed? Because a lot of progressive outlets are constantly pushing Elizabeth Warren above Tulsi, and I don't understand how they can even get away with continuing to do that with this.
It's a shame, Niko, because we could have made fun of her for her stupid tweets a couple days ago about her not wanting to go on Fox, which her reasons are okay. Listen, that's fine. But how the hell do you say all that stuff about Fox and then not hold MSNBC and CNN accountable for their horse shit? Like, Fox stands fucking alone. Give me a break with this woman. And you know what? I asked the campaign. Tulsi's campaign is open to a town hall debate on Fox. In fact, they're actively seeking it because they're willing to talk to all sides. Once again, we love you, Tulsi.
Hey, look, Warren, you know how y'all know how I feel about Warren, and my audience, you know how I feel about Warren at this point, but it needs to be said once again. Warren is not your damn friend. Stop calling her progressive. She has taken first of all, she used to be a Republican, right? Straight up until 1996, which is well into her adulthood, in case you didn't know. So she was able to get away with that because she lives in Massachusetts, and people have a lot of change of heart in Massachusetts, and their party isn't really representative of what they stand for. Cool, got it. So let's fast forward. Where was Warren at on Standing Rock? Oh, that's right. She was not. She was literally not there at all. What did she? Oh, it was even worse than not being there. We should let the workers work and the people protest in peace. So what? Yeah. What the? Okay, so there's that.
Once again, how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. And of course, the entire time taking corporate money. Yeah. Got it. So when did she start advocating for Medicare for all? That's right. When she started running for president, and then she backtracked that, and then she was for it again, and then she backtracked again. Okay, so she's not for Medicare for all. So that's that too. And now all of a sudden, because she says she doesn't want to take corporate money during the primary, all of a sudden she's progressive. That is how low our standards have gotten for progressivism, is that she doesn't want to take money during one part of the election, because on TYT she said so clearly, well, yeah, okay, so we have to make sure that we're taking all the corporate money we can get. We have to haul in all the possible money we can get to take on Donald Trump. Yeah, we have to fight. Yeah. So basically well, I'm just going to not take money. She literally is telling you straight the fuck up, I'm not taking money because I want to convince you all I'm progressive. In the moment I cannot be that again, I'm going to literally be as neoliberal as I can possibly be to win the election. And then she's going to be the first president in history, everybody, the very first president in history to not do what her corporate donors tell her to. That's what she's trying to convince us. Yeah. And so when I'm seeing these clear attempts to try and trick the progressive movement into thinking she's even a viable third choice, even close to a viable third choice, it's laughable. And there's people they have the same damn search engine as I do. They look like they might use MacBooks too. Maybe they don't, but they at least know how to use DuckDuckGo. Boy, don't ever in your life put Warren with Bernie and Tulsi and even AOC in the short tenure that AOC has for her slip-ups. She's 29 years old. Warren, a grown-ass woman who's been in the game for a long time, and she knows how the game is played. Yeah. I can forgive AOC for slipping up. I can't forgive you for endorsing Hillary Clinton before the most important election of the entire election season. And when you've been you was dangling a carrot in front of progressive the entire time, trying to gather support, whereas nobody would have even known what your name was nationally, unless they didn't think it was possible for you to endorse Bernie. You rode that wave all the way to Clinton having that one-on-one meeting with your ass, and you thought that you were going to get the VP spot. You thought that you were going to have a key position in the campaign. It all fell downhill. Now you're trying to run for office, and now you're trying to pretend progressive and think because you throw out climate change that all of a sudden we're going to support the military-industrial complex. Kiss my ass. Get out of here. Sorry, y'all.
No, but you're right. And you know what else is? I spoke to one of my friends who was involved on the Occupy movement a few years ago and yesterday, and he was saying how Warren did really nothing with the the Consumer Protection Bureau. Mm-hmm. She really, it was just like a show. She whacked her finger. None of those people were really helped out, and it was just bullshit. And he was like, people give her way too much credit for that. She really didn't do much to actually help the people. He was an activist. His name is Carlos Marroquin. He actually went and occupied people's houses so they wouldn't take it. And he's just like, I have no love or trust for Warren because a lot of people give her credit for that, and she really didn't do shit. And that's one of the main things that people always talk about. Oh yeah, well, she did this. It's like, well, actually, she really didn't do much.
No, these establishment progressives or progressive establishments, you know who we're talking about. The fact that they'll talk up Elizabeth Warren and won't even talk up Tulsi. They'll bash Tulsi when Tulsi walked away when everything was on the line, and Elizabeth Warren stayed hiding in the fucking bushes until it was fucking opportune for her to come out to gain power. There's a big difference. You made a great tweet about it. And I just want to reiterate that again because that was disgusting, and I'll never trust Warren and stuff.
And I'm telling you, and I'll tell you that, and for those of you who don't know, it's because those same people who are firmly in the Bernie camp and are trying to put on a face like, oh no, we're just trying to let democracy prevail. Yeah, that's right. No, the reason they support Warren is because Warren doesn't have a snowball's chance in the devil's balls to win this damn election because she is not even. Spot. Yeah, she's fighting for a cabinet spot. She's no challenge to Bernie. And so they're okay with pretending as if she's some type of, like, because they get to do videos about some of the nominal shit she does. But, like, they don't have to worry about her interrupting Bernie's groove. Tulsi, on the other hand, to be honest, is a problem for Bernie Bernie knows this. Bernie supporters know this, which is why they constantly malign her and try to relegate her to being Secretary of State or VP. I'm a person who believes in letting democracy prevail because we've seen time and time and time again, anytime we try and usurp democracy, every single time, it turns out bad for the American public. Even when you thought that there wasn't a problem, like even when you thought the correct thing happened, it still becomes a problem, right? So, for example, with the Henry Wallace and FDR situation, the world probably wasn't paying attention whenever they basically cheated at the convention. Henry Wallace was usurped and they put Truman in instead. And they're like, well, at least we still have FDR. 3 months later, what happened?
He passed away.
Exactly. And we were left with Truman, which was like an utter... Yeah, we were left with a Democrat version of Donald Trump, and who was an even bigger blithering idiot than Donald Trump was, and was just as insecure as he was. And because of that, he was constantly trying to prove himself to the establishment that he wasn't going to be bullied. And so because of that, so like I said, it looked like on the surface, well, I mean, it's a Democrat, right? It's FDR still there, right? We're winning the war, right? What could possibly go wrong? I don't know, maybe an entire Cold War. Because we skip steps in democracy. Yep. You have to educate the populace. You teach them the facts, and then you allow them to vote where they think it's best for them to vote. And then you let the candidates work for that damn vote. Bernie has a chance to win me back, just like he has a chance to win anybody else who's voting for Tulsi back. But Tulsi also has every opportunity to keep me. Yep. So, like, that's how democracy works.
Hey, Niko, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
This has been such a great show. You've had like 260 people on. And, you know, I'd love for some of your people to come over and like, share, and subscribe to the Convo Couch too as well. But do you think you can come out to San Francisco and come play with us so we can keep this dream team together for the California DNC? Can you do that with us? Because they don't know how fam we are. We are fam. We're not just business partners. We are fam, and we need our fam here. Full force. Cameras, microphones, you know, I'll ask people whatever you want me to ask them in my pasta way, Niko.
You're going to have to ask them. You're going to have to ask them because I can't ask them. So, we got a super chat really quick. Trudy said, it will take 60% of us behind one Bernie. That's not how that works. Good try, though. I hate to break this to you. Can I explain the super delegate system really quick, Pasta, before I explain this, before we talk about the DNC convention out there? If you can explain it quick,
because it's really complicated.
Yeah, I can explain it quick. So let me explain something to you all. The delegate system works as this. So in order for you to get any delegates in a particular state, you have to win 15% at least. I think there are a few exceptions, but that's basically how it works. Here's the problem with that. You have Kamala in California. Now you have de Blasio in New York, which is a big freaking X factor that I was not actually expecting to be a thing. So you have de Blasio coming out of New York. You have Warren in Massachusetts. You have Beto in Texas. You have Andrew Gillum pushing for Biden in Florida. So now you have a bunch of states where they have the most delegates, where you're going to see votes siphoned off, right? And it won't allow Bernie to win 50% before the convention. It doesn't matter if all of us get behind him, because you're still going to have to account for 35 open primary states. 35. So if you think that Bernie can win when half of the libertarians and a lot of the Republicans still think that he betrayed his own base, so why would he not betray them? That's how they think. You can think how you want to. I don't believe that he will betray us, but that's how they see it, and it's a reality nonetheless. He's going to get to the convention and he's going to have 45%. And that's if everything goes well for him. And guess what they'll do? They will throw all their delegates behind one major establishment candidate to beat him.
Sorry.
Yeah, it'll probably be Kamala.
My bad.
So, it'll either be Kamala or Joe Biden. But that's if Joe Biden's still in the race, because we all know how he likes to flicker out fast. So what happens is, you need someone who has crossover appeal that no other candidate has. Biden does not have that, despite what they're trying to tell you. They hate this man. They're the ones who, the right are the ones who came up with the creepy Biden memes, right? He's not popular amongst the right. Chris Beverly said Tulsi #1, but Bernie's okay with me too. I'm right there with you. So what you need is someone who has crossover appeal, because there are 30 to 35 primary states are close. open or semi-open primary states. And guess who has the most crossover appeal in the Democratic primary now? I'll tell you. The one who just went on Joe Rogan and went the fuck off. And that's Tulsi. Tulsi's Joe Rogan interview was insanely good. All millions of views, hundreds of thousands of positive comments, and I don't even know how many donations at this point, because she's principled, she's a fighter, she's a veteran, she's fine as all get out, and people like that. So what you're going to have to deal with is a lot of states that would have swung to Trump, right? And a lot of people who would have voted for Trump in a Republican primary, but now they only have one option, and it's only Trump. So maybe I'm tired of what the Republicans have done. Maybe they haven't got anything done, even when they had all three, the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. Maybe I'm tired of Trump lying to me. Maybe I'm tired of having, I thought I was supposed to have better health care. My health care is worse than it's ever been. Yep. But I'm not really down with Bernie. He endorsed Hillary, and he pushed this Russiagate nonsense, and he fear-mongered and demagogued and all that stuff. So, but this Tulsi lady. Yep. You go look at those Fox News comments about Tulsi. You think they're calling her dirty socialist?
Nope.
No. Nope. Because she doesn't use labels and she doesn't believe in them. And so even if she doesn't get 40% of the delegates, she'll get 30% of the delegates, which is enough to put Bernie over the top, or vice versa. Bernie put her over the top. It just depends on what happens by that time. And if you think that it's not, after the debate, whatever you think, whatever little influence you think that the Convo Couch and the MCSC network has on this election, it goes out the window. That monster is going to take a head all of its own, and it's going to vibe towards Tulsi. Yeah. It is. Absolutely. I'm telling you, because I said the same thing last year. They're like, "What's a crowded field?" First debates last year were also, our last election, was also a crowded field.
Yeah. And a lot of Bernie supporters need to stop. And I support Bernie too. And like a lot of Bernie supporters need to stop maligning Tulsi as if she's actually against him, because honestly, she could be the very thing that can save him, or vice versa, as you say. Because we've been talking about this forever. Like, if you guys think that the Democratic Party is going to play nice, the one criticism I gave of Bernie, and I give consistently, is that he is too kind to the Democratic Party. He's trying too hard to please them. He's trying way too hard to be nice to them, at least up front. And they're not going to play nice. They're going to play dirty. And we know they are. And we're not going to be polite or silent about that, because we're not running. He's running. And that's fine. And if he feels like he has to be that way, he's going to lose some supporters. I think
you're going to deal with the consequences.
If he were to go more bold against them, I think he would gain so much more support. And whoever is advising him to, placate to the centrists, I think that's an ill advisement, because look at what Tulsi's doing. Look at all the crossover appeal she has. And we can't win this election only with centrists and progressives at all. We need this to win with the crossover of the Republicans, the independents, and the people who don't feel encouraged to vote. And that a lot of the younger people would vote if they felt a momentum, and like Bernie has that momentum and Tulsi has that momentum.
We have a chance to put the first millennial in office.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a big deal.
Exactly.
I told Jane Albrecht that the other day. I said, we're not just looking for the left to unite, because if we're going out there and Tulsi people, supporters in that room, they're looking at libertarians, Republicans, and I think about the primaries in West Virginia when Trump had it all wrapped up. They switched over their registration so they can go out and they can vote against Hillary. And I think with Trump not having a primary, hopefully he won't, maybe he will. Who knows? I don't know how that's going to play into effect, because I don't want him taking any television time away from the left, from the Democrats, because that's what CNN and MSNBC will do if there was a primary. They'll waste time going to cover it and take away from Bernie. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But they know what to do, and they all switched over their registration, and Bernie won West Virginia big. And I think they're going to do that, and they're going to make their mark, and they're going to hopefully prop up Tulsi a little bit and really piss off the Democratic establishment. So
yeah, and can I say that? So what I mean to say is, I'm not even telling you where to vote, people. But if your only argument for Bernie at this point is he's our only chance, then you're wrong, and you're going to get slammed, because that means you can't stand on his record at this point, right? So, because the record. And I don't want it to get ugly, because we're the nice Tulsi supporters. The libertarians and the conservative Tulsi supporters are going to shred you, because there are facts out there about Bernie that a lot of his supporters refuses to accept. which is unfortunate and it's sad because whenever I decide to support somebody, my first thing is let me go do some research to figure out how they're going to break my heart, right? That's the first thing you got to do, in my opinion, when you think that somebody is the right candidate for you, because they all have problems. They all have past. But when you're looking at Tulsi at this very moment, it's what have you done for me lately when it comes to a lot of these voters. And they're going to look up, okay, well, what is Bernie's position on this? Bernie has no position on Assange right now. And if you think that's people, it was a worldwide trending topic, and you think it's going to have zero effect on the primary election? Well, let me explain something to you people. These issues, Assange, Manning, Snowden, when you're talking about the Venezuela, Iran, like primary voters are some of the most educated voters. The general election is what you're thinking about, where it may not be a factor. But in the primary, it will absolutely be a factor. Go ahead, Fee.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've talked to a few people. I'm not going to mention names, but they have told me, hey, I switched my vote from Bernie to Tulsi because her foreign policy and blah, blah, blah. And then I have a friend who has a Republican boyfriend, and he won't vote. He hates Bernie, but he's willing to vote for Tulsi. Yeah. And that's the crossover appeal. If we remember the silent majority with Donald Trump, these people aren't going to say a goddamn thing, but they're going to get to the polls and they're going to show you who they're going to vote for. And you're not going to find out till later. And if you 100%. Think that anybody has it in the bag yet, you're wrong, because a lot of these people don't say anything, but they're going to let you know through the voting process, and we can't really be dismissive of someone like Tulsi siphoning votes because she's far bolder as far as foreign policy goes, and we need to stop dismissing foreign policy as something like, oh yeah, whatever. Like no, like it literally affects everything in here.
Hold on. Quick, we had a super chat from Gabriel. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work, Progressive.
I tried to drop a bomb.
Regards from Sweden. Absolutely, 100%. That's basically what we're trying to say, that we don't want infighting. We want to promote the positives of both candidates, but the problem is that in order to boost Bernie, and this is not something that only I've seen, they've seen it as well. They think that maligning Tulsi is the answer, and it's not, because you're gonna delude yourselves. Because if you think that there's what Fee just discussed, that there's actually a group like there's academia that proves this. If you try and insult an action enough, right? So supporting Tulsi, or if we look at 2016, supporting Trump, if you insult an action enough, people will just stop telling you what they're going to do. So the polls won't be accurate. Your engagement with people on social media won't be accurate. There are people probably watching this right now who are probably like, damn, yeah, I mean, he's right, because I was definitely going to vote for Bernie, and now I'm voting for Tulsi. And the thing is, that's fine, but like, don't get upset whenever the debate comes and now it becomes pop culture to support Tulsi, and you just see a wave of Tulsi supporters come out of nowhere. Like we saw a wave of Trump supporters come out of nowhere when supposedly he only had a 1% chance of winning the general, and he had a 0% chance of winning the Republican primary. Remember, that was Jeb Bush's primary to lose, and he got throttled, and it wasn't even close. And it's because there's something to be said for candidates with true crossover appeal. And Trump, unfortunately, for wrong reasons, had that. Bernie had to work up for that because he was the dirty little communist. And then he eventually won the hearts of conservatives. But then he kind of threw that away, right? He kind of threw that away when he endorsed Hillary. Some conservatives still like him, but they would like a better option. It's just from my interactions with them. And there's some conservatives that would have nothing to do with Bernie. However, there has not been one person who has recently entered the democratic process who was like, I'm not going nowhere near Tulsi. They're like, the only person, there are people who have never made a donation to anybody in their lives, and the first one they made it to is Tulsi. So what I mean to say by that is, if you think that Bernie is the answer just because you want him to be the answer, it doesn't make it true. You're going to have to engage. We're going to have to weigh them against each other. They're going to go toe to toe on that debate stage, and may the best woman or man win. And that's how it should be, because that's democracy. We should be celebrating having progressives go toe to toe. We shouldn't be maligning them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think Tulsi said that. Isn't it a good thing for once that we have a couple progressives that now in the race? But
I would call three of them progressives. Everybody else, Mike Gravel, Bernie, awesome. And Tulsi. Yeah, Warren is not a progressive,
Neither
ladies
is
and
Andrew
gentlemen.
Yang, but talk about Frisco, Niko, because we got some things going on.
Okay, people. So we are trying to go to San Francisco for the California Democratic the California Democratic Convention. And the California Democratic Convention, as you can imagine, is a big deal. Let them know some of the people who are going to be there, Pasta.
All the DNC.
So
candidates,
Andrew Yang,
right?
Tulsi, Bernie, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. Amy.
Don't y'all want to
Klobuchar.
see me stand in front of Elizabeth Warren with a microphone just grilling her? Because I would love to interview.
You know what,
Elizabeth.
Nico? We were saying, tell people to hit up our email if you hit the Convo Couch at Gmail. If there's some questions you want me to ask people, we'll try to do it. You know how I am with interviews. I don't try to go too savage because I don't want them walking away. But the last person we just interviewed, that lady who grabbed a microphone away from the gentleman who was asking a question to Tulsi if she would stand with the people if they cheat in the primaries again, and she obfuscated the questions. You saw the questions I asked her when she said the Republicans will do anything to cheat. I said, can't the same be said for the Democratic Party itself? So if you want to see more of that, help Nico join the Convo Couch in Frisco.
Yeah, you can go. I think Johnny has the link to the GoFundMe. You can donate to that GoFundMe, help get me out there so we can interview some of these candidates. We can do live analysis of the convention while we're there. Hopefully we can get a mic in front of Bernie. We can get a mic. I definitely know we can get a mic in front of Tulsi. That's not going to be a problem. But we can get a mic in front of Bernie. And don't y'all want to see me next to Tulsi again? We look good together, right? That's all I'm saying. Sorry, Aram. But no, in all seriousness, we want to make sure that we get to that California convention because, as most of you all know, California has moved up. It's moved up.
March 3rd is the primary.
So it's a very, very first Super Tuesday now. The Super Tuesday where the election kind of got thrown towards Hillary because it was all southern states, basically, and nobody had been educated on the candidates. It's a lot different of a game this time. And so we get to have a real feel for how California is leaning, how the California Democratic Party is behaving towards progressive candidates, how Tulsi is doing, how Bernie is doing. And not only that, but we actually will probably get to see some of the up-and-coming progressive powerhouses that may be coming out in the California, the congressional races, the assembly races, and hopefully we'll see somebody trying to challenge, because Kamala isn't running for her Senate seat again, right?
No, which is stupid. That's one of the things that's stupid.
You know what she's been trying to do, by the way.
It's one of those things where Elizabeth Warren, Kamala, we might even lose. The Democratic Party might lose seats in Congress and the Senate because they're too busy trying to be president. And it's so stupid because we need to have people in there that are actually leftists. Not that they are, but I'm just saying, like, if you really care about the American people, you're going to let all these Republicans take over these seats. So that's why this election is so crucial. And another thing I wanted to say about the convention, they specifically made it, the establishment made it in San Francisco.
Yeah.
As many of you guys know, San Francisco is one of the most expensive, I think it's top New York cities to live in. Hotels are $400, like no less than $300 a night, even Airbnbs. And we're trying to get there with a group of progressives. We're trying to have enough money to be able to bring this news to you and report to you guys, because I know for a fact that there's a lot of establishment and progressives that are going to be there preaching unity. And we have our friends that are like, yeah, we're going to go when we're going to dismiss this unity thing unless they have accountability, unless they stand for Medicare for all, for non-interventionism, for education. We don't want that unity. And I have a friend that makes stickers like, fuck your unity pledge.
Unity without accountability,
we got to storm the castle.
Hold up. Did we already put that GoFundMe up? Did you already put the link up?
Oh, no, he hasn't.
I did.
Put the link up
because I want everybody to remember, this is Niko we're talking about here. I know y'all want to see a video of me getting kicked out of the California Democratic Convention.
Yeah.
I know that everybody wants to see me go the fuck off at the because I dare somebody ask me about unity. I'll be goddamn. If anybody gonna ask me about no damn unity, I'm like, boy, you know how many hours I put into 2016? I want to hear about unity. I want to hear about it. Don't come on to me about that unity shit unless you're talking about pushing for progressives. If you are that, you need to keep that same energy, because when we take over, because it's happening, and they know it's happening, which is why they've been trying to capitulate, which is why they've been trying to take our rhetoric, which is why Warren is trying to wear her, the sheep's clothing, which is why Kamala all of a sudden is about Medicare for all, which is why Cory Booker all of a sudden is taking lobbying money. Like, you see it because we're winning, and they know it. So if you want to keep that, if you want us to unify, we don't have a problem with unity. I'm all about unity. But you better keep that same energy when we get to that national convention, because we're not playing that shit this time.
Nope.
Like like you think if you were at the national convention in Philadelphia, you know how bad it got last time, ambulances and cop cars. Oh, imagine how bad it's going to be this time. You screw us over twice, and we are already privy to what you plan on doing. So if y'all want to see me go act the fool at the California Democratic Convention, go to that GoFundMe link.
Yeah, and I'm gonna dance battle you too. Me and Niko dance battle on the floor at night, Saturday night.
I didn't agree to that.
I'm gonna show you how my Danny Terrio, John Travolta, Staying Alive ass is gonna battle Niko on that floor, y'all. Big Chubby coming hard at you, Niko House. Miami, take the challenge if you're willing. You can get us out of here. Get us out of here, Niko. Right. It's an hour.
All right, peeps. So thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa, Sukasa, and the Convo Couch here at Progressive Prime Time. And remember, people, more than anything else, and still.
One more super chat.
One more. Oh, we got one more super chat. Oh, hold up. Jason V. This all tells me if there is anywhere that the DNC will focus on rigging, it will be in California.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Damn straight. That's 100%, which is why we're trying to get me out there.
Alex Padilla is still the Secretary of State
Alex
who's in charge, and he's corrupt as all hell. Yeah. And we're watching his ass, and we're going to place people in certain spots. We're not playing this time, like Niko said. Yeah. We're not playing. We're going to come in there, burn shit down.
That's right. We're going to take it by storm.
Khaleesi style. The baby dragons are no longer babies.
The baby dragon. Oh, really? All right, Daenerys, calm down. Don't be killing the innocent people. We don't want to kill the progressives and the neoliberals. We just want to burn the neoliberals, okay? And eat the rich. With that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning in. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.
Out.